All right, now we're recording. All right, so I didn't forget. So we are talking about refeeds and diet breaks today. Um, and let's see. So before I jump into it, does anyone or Liz or Laura, do either of you guys, Laura, I kind of already know your answer, but Liz, do you have an understanding of what diet breaks or refeeds are? And
Not entirely. I mean, I just went through my restoration phase, but I have a feeling it's something different than that.
yeah, okay, cool. Well, I'm glad you're here because we are going to talk about it. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen because I made a little PowerPoint that we're gonna go through. All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Cool.
Yep, I can see. We're good.
Cool. All right, so refeeds and diet breaks. We are gonna start talking about what is a refeed. And I need to move this out of the way. All right, so there's a couple different strategies. You have refeeds, you have diet breaks, and then of course you have reverse diets or restoration phases. So they're all different techniques. They're all different strategies that can be used. But we are going to talk about a refeed today first. So with a refeed, what it is, it's when you have like, usually it's 1 to 3 days of increasing calories that we increase calories usually just through carbohydrates when someone is in a calorie deficit. And these days are done consecutively. So if you have 3 days, let's say you'll do them like on a Thursday, Friday, and a Saturday, all done back to back. A refeed is different from having like an untracked day or a free day because with a refeed, you're still being very intentional about it. So you're still tracking because you want to make sure like we've increased your carbohydrates. So you want to make sure you're hitting that number of carbohydrates. Whereas like an untracked day or a free day, those days you're not tracking, that you're unmonitored. And with an untracked day or a free day, you can have indulgences like coming from protein or coming from fats. With a refeed, like I said, we're mainly increasing your intake through carbohydrates only. So usually the way that we do this is we'll increase your calories by 25 to 30%. And again, this is going to come from carbohydrates and it can be done like weekly or biweekly. This varies dependent on, the biofeedback that we're getting from the client. But that's kind of like a really quick rundown on what a refeed is. So why would someone have a refeed? What's the purpose of it? So I'm sure both of you know that when you are in a fat loss phase or in a calorie deficit, weight loss, fat loss plateaus can definitely happen. So a refeed can potentially help with that. The reason that plateaus are happening is most likely could be due to like metabolic adaptations. So when we're dieting for a while, our body is going to, our metabolism is going to adapt. So it's going to try and like conserve energy and it's not going to like continue to want to lose weight on low calories. So going into a refeed can kind of help with this. And it does this by increasing leptin. And science shows that carbohydrates are better at this than protein and fat. So increasing carbohydrates are better at increasing leptin than protein and fats are. So that's why when we do a refeed, we increase carbs. And then a refeed can also help decrease ghrelin. So leptin and ghrelin are hunger hormones. A refeed also helps with replenishing glycogen stores. So that is going to help you have more strength, which is going to help you have better lifts, which is probably going to help you put out more energy. So I'm sure that you understand that when you're in a calorie deficit, your energy is going to start to tank a little bit. So you're not going to be as active. You're not going to be pushing out as much energy throughout your day and in your lifts. So the calories that you're burning in a day is going to drop. So with a refeed, that can kind of help give you that extra push, which can help kind of spike the energy that you're burning, which can help increase the calories that you're burning. So it can kind of help push you past that plateau as well. Refeeds can also help avoid binges if a client is maybe kind of struggling with that. Implementing refeeds can help prevent that. And then there's also just psychological benefits to refeeds. If a client is struggling a little bit, again, with binging or adherence, or other psychological things, then having a refeed can maybe help them get back on track with adherence to protocols or things like that. So that is why a client may benefit from a refeed. Other things or other reasons someone may benefit from a refeed or why we may implement one. So when you have a client who is either really lean or at least like a normal body fat percentage, and they've been in a calorie deficit for a while, they may benefit from a refeed. So when you have someone who's lean or at a normal body fat percent, but they've been in a deficit for a while, their fat stores are going to be pretty low. So they've had their metabolism is pretty adaptive at that point. And so their hormones are going to be altered. So kind of like what I was talking about earlier. Sorry, my dog is trying to get in the camera. Their hormones are going to be adaptive, like what I was talking about earlier. Their leptin and ghrelin levels are going to be kind of a little bit out of whack. So implementing a refeed can help balance those back out. The refeeds can be implemented for anyone who's in a calorie deficit. Again, because there are those psychological benefits as well. So that is a refeed, and kind of what it is, how we implement it, why we would implement it, and who would benefit from it. Okay. So strategy number one would be a refeed. It's a quick 1 to 3 day increase of calories from carbohydrates. The other strategy with nutrition is a diet break. So with a diet break, this is when you come out of your calorie deficit and your calories are raised up to your non-dieting TDEE, which is your total daily energy expenditure. A diet break typically lasts for 1 to 2 weeks. So a refeed is 1 to 3 days, just a couple of days. A diet break is for a much longer period of time. So you're coming out of that fat loss phase, that deficit for, 1 to 2 weeks, as opposed to just a handful of days. And let's see. So why would we do a diet break? So just like with the refeed, there's psychological benefits to having a diet break, same kind of concept. And there's also physiological benefits as well. So let's say you have a client, or you're struggling with being in a fat loss phase, you've been in it for a while, you're struggling with adherence. A diet break may be good for you. 1 to 3 days of a refeed just may not be long enough. So you may need to come out of that fat loss phase for a little bit longer, just to really kind of regain your focus. So it can help with client adherence. It can help with clients who are just, feeling burnt out, feel like quitting. It can also help with binge eating, and just really help with, that overall sense of like burnout. It also helps with the hunger hormones. It increases leptin, reduces ghrelin, increases glycogen stores. So a lot of the same benefits that come with the refeed are also going to come along with having a diet break. And of course, it's also going to work against adaptive thermogenesis. So when your metabolism starts to kind of adapt to being in a deficit for a really long time, just like with the refeed, a diet break is also going to help with that. Let's see here. All right, so like I said, with a refeed, it can be used once a week or every 2 weeks. A diet break is a little bit different. It can be used at any point in someone's journey. So if you're looking at the psychological mental health support, it can be used as often as every other week. But let's say you have a client who, wants to keep going. They don't really need the mental health support from it, but they do need those physiological benefits. So you're starting to see like metabolic adaptations, even though and when I say if they've reached a plateau, for a client to reach a plateau, it's not just like progress has stalled a little bit, like you haven't lost weight in 2 weeks. We're looking for no changes in weight, no changes in pictures, no changes in measurements, no changes in strength. Like we're looking at a lot of biofeedback markers, and we're looking for adherence. So you've hit your macros, your sleep is good, stress is managed, water intake is good, you're hitting your step goal, you haven't been sick, like you're nailing everything. So everything has to be pretty much spot on. And then, progress isn't being made. So it's not just like, oh, the scale hasn't moved, but you're losing inches, or the scale hasn't moved, but you're not hitting your protocols kind of thing. So I just wanted to throw that in there. But let's say you have a client, they don't need the mental health support of a diet break or a refeed. But they're not really progressing at this point, nailing protocols, but you can tell maybe some metabolic adaptations are taking place. This is where a diet break can come in to play here and help. Maybe they've been in a fat loss phase for a while. Maybe they, just kind of need a little bit of a break. So this is where we could maybe implement that. And it's also, oh, sorry.
So is that kind of like what I'm about to enter now, with like me being gone for 3 weeks and unable to like track consistently, or does a diet break, you're still tracking? How does that work?
So with a diet break, you are still tracking, yes. But so we haven't talked about it like 100% with you yet. And I'm glad you said something, because I actually need to check the waiting room and make sure nobody has tried to get in here. I don't know how to do it. We could definitely, so with the diet break, well, if we were to implement that with you, Liz, what we would do is raise your calories up to your TDEE. You would still track, but you wouldn't be in a calorie deficit anymore. Does that make sense? So that is something that we could do while you are on the boat.
Absolutely, that makes perfect sense. I just wasn't sure if it was like tracked or untracked, or how it all made sense.
So so it would be tracked. And with it, you could throw in some like untracked days or intuitive eating days and things like that. Just like we do with everything else. But I would say like a diet break would be tracked, unless discussed otherwise with the coach and client. Okay, goodness. My dog is like reverse sneezing right now. I don't know if y'all have dogs if they do that, but
that makes perfect sense. Thank you so much for clarifying.
Yeah, you're welcome. Let's see here. Okay, you're good. All right. So and that's a great, like that leads right into the next point, that another time that diet breaks could be beneficial is when a client is, going on vacation or a holiday or something like that, where they maybe just need a little bit of a break. So you're not necessarily so focused on trying to eat super low calories or anything like that. So it just gives them a little bit more freedom around what they're eating and not having to worry, like being so strict with, oh, I have to, if their calories are low or lower than they'd want them to be on vacation or around the holiday time. So, all right. Okay, so what to expect with a diet break? And this is important to note. So, because you're actually coming out of your calorie deficit in a diet break, it is likely that the scale is going to increase. And this is really important for clients to know. It's most likely, like you will likely see weight gain, but it's most likely not going to be fat. It's likely going to be due to glycogen and water, but it is important to know that the fat loss is going to be put on a pause. And that is the biggest difference between a diet break and a refeed. So we have a refeed versus a diet break. So a refeed is very quick. It's a couple of days. A client's overall biofeedback is pretty positive. 1 to 3 days of increased carbs, and it still allows for consistent progress to be made. Okay. A diet break, biofeedback is still pretty positive, but you're a little bit more worried about metabolic adaptations having taken place. There's more physiological benefits with the diet break, and there is a temporary pause in progress because with the diet break, you are coming out of the fat loss phase for anywhere from 7 to 14 days. So those are the big differences between the two. Does that make sense? So when you're as a coach or as a client, if you're thinking about which one to, utilize with yourself or with a client, these are the things to think about. If you're not wanting to, halt progress, a refeed is the way to go. But if you're really struggling, like on the mental side of it, if you're, really thinking that metabolism is, somebody just came in, if you're thinking that your metabolism has really, taken a hit and thinking that some adaptations have taken place, then diet break is definitely the way to go. But you are coming out of the fat loss phase for a little bit there. So, your progress will be halted. And then I had 2 studies that I wanted to share. So there was a study done in 2020, and it was a study called Diet Breaks, Diet Refeed Studies. And so there was 2 groups that went on a diet, and group 1 ate in a 25% calorie deficit for 7 weeks straight. And then group 2 ate in a 35% calorie deficit for 5 days per week. But every weekend, they increased their calories to maintenance level through carbohydrates for 7 weeks straight. So by doing this, both of the groups had the same weekly calories. Both groups lost the same amount of weight, but group 2, so this was the group that ate in a calorie deficit 5 days per week, but increased their calories on the weekend. They lost only 1 pound of lean mass, while the first group lost 3 pounds of mass. So basically that's saying group 2 lost less muscle than group 1, if that makes sense. So I thought that was just pretty interesting to say, like having a refeed helped them hold on to like a little bit more lean mass. They lost the same amount of fat though. And then the other study that I had, let's see, where was it? I have to find it. Okay. It was a study done in 2017, and there was two groups again. Group one followed a diet for 16 weeks straight. They were in a 33% calorie deficit. And then group two dieted in a 33% calorie deficit for 2 weeks, followed by 2 weeks at maintenance calories. And group two alternated between the two until they had dieted for 16 total weeks of dieting and 16 total weeks of a diet break. So it took them twice as long as group one. So it took them twice as long, but group two actually lost more fat and more weight and had less metabolic adaptations. So both of these studies are just showing like the benefits to incorporating refeeds and diet breaks throughout the fat loss phase and like the benefits to them. So yeah. Okay. Now I'm opening it up to questions for you guys.
I feel pretty good. I feel like you covered it really well. The studies are interesting that it is that big of a difference to me.
Yeah, I would agree. It's definitely interesting to see like how, yeah, just like how increasing your food for a little bit can like have that big of an impact.
Yeah. That's what was interesting to me. But I feel like I don't have any questions right now.
Okay.
Yeah, same for me. I don't have any questions. I think we, early in the call I had said I had no idea what a refeed was. And so now I definitely have a better understanding of what it is. And same here, it was interesting to me that in that first study with the refeed, they were actually able to hold on to more muscle, which, is important. So it just kind of, again, and all the things that, you read or you hear and, they say, you don't have to be 100% perfect all the time. And it's kind of like, that's why, because those are tools to help you reach your goals quicker and do it in a healthy way where you're not, losing so much muscle. So it definitely made a lot of sense.
Yeah, that was helpful for me to see the difference between the two versus like getting those untracked days, which we all know what those are because you give them to us pretty frequently, but seeing the difference in the other two.
Yeah. And I think untracked days definitely, are good. So you don't have to pull out, your phone, and you don't have to have your scale and all of that too. But, having that accountability and, having that accountability when you're still, trying to make progress, I think is important. And understanding the difference between all of these things is good when you have a goal in sight, I guess.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely the on-track days are nice because it is like kind of stressful, like every day when you're like, oh, I have to track this and measure this and do this and do that, and it adds a lot more steps to like food prep and everything. So that one day kind of takes the stress out of it. And it's funny, I think I mentioned to you, I went away this week, and I mean, yeah, I gave myself some allowances, but then I felt like, for lunch, like we had like chicken and veggies, and it was nice. I didn't really like measure it, but I just, I said, okay, I'm making a healthier choice for lunch this time. And I was able to kind of portion it out to what I thought was adequate.
Absolutely.
And I felt like I was just, I did a better job of keeping myself on track this week, even though I wasn't tracking, just because from doing it over the last few weeks, it was just a little easier to make a better choice.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I definitely think all of these things like play a part, have a piece of the puzzle, fit into the puzzle.
Yeah, just because, and I think that's the biggest thing why a lot of people don't like to, I guess you could call this a diet, but I don't, because I'm not really restricting myself. As long as something fits into my calories or my macros, I can eat it. But I think a lot of people think they have to be strict all the time. And,
Right.
you just have to be smarter about what you're eating and how you're eating.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people, that's what stresses them out is, I can't do this for the rest of my life. And it's like, well, you don't have to, you just have to make a better choice a few times a day.
So true. And that's why like counting macros and weighing things out is so helpful, because you learn like that moderation and you learn those portion sizes. And then like after doing it for so long, and Liz we were just talking about this, Liz, because you were like, I've gotten so good at like knowing my portion sizes. Like you and your husband were, he asked you like, how much do you think this is? And you were like spot on. So
Right.
after like doing it for so long, you learn it, and then you don't even have to like weigh stuff out forever. You don't even have to track
Exactly.
forever. So it all kind of like leads you to a path of complete like freedom and control of what you're eating. So
Right.
cool how it works, but you have to kind of put in the work to get there. So, and then all of these things lead you there.
Of course.
So,
all right, I've got to go ahead and jump off here, but thank you so much for the information.
yes. Thanks, Liz. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll do my check-in tomorrow. So
sounds good.
All right, we'll see you then.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. But yeah, I don't know who the other person is on the call, but if you have any questions, I just muted you because there was some feedback coming through, but you can definitely unmute yourself and ask anything. But yeah, they don't have a name on it, so I'm not sure who it is.
It's a mystery.
Yeah. It is. But
yeah, this was definitely helpful. And then, another thing I did this weekend too is I drank so much water just because, that, and whenever I go on vacation or I do, well, it's kind of like what we discussed a little bit last week is like, the weekends really aren't necessarily your weekend off. There's just an extension of the weekday. Or the days during the week. So I really tried to have that mentality this weekend, and I think I was at like, I don't know, 80% success rate with it. I won't lie, but I feel like just having that mindset, like I made sure I got in my water every day, and I actually went for walks a few times throughout the day, where normally I'm like, well, I'm on vacation and I'm not gonna work out, or I'm not gonna try to get any extra activity in, but I did that this weekend, so that was like a small little win for me.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So I was proud of myself for that.
I'm super proud of you. That's definitely awesome. Yeah, 80% focused, or I forget how you worded it, but 80% is definitely improvement. So
yeah, it's better than I think. My mindset this weekend was definitely better than I think what it would have been had I not started this program. So
we love it.
Yeah, definitely. So
every step in the forward direction is a step in the right direction. So
yeah,
yes.
Absolutely.
I'm glad to hear that. Heck yeah. Well, what do you have planned? Wait, what day is it? It's Monday. What do you have planned this week as far as like goals and being able to stay on track?
So it's just continuing getting my workouts in. What you'll see in my checkout check-in tomorrow. I did 3 workouts this week, and then I did 2 cardio. 2, like, my cardio, I use my bike for my cardio, but then like every day I try to get the 10,000 steps in. I don't know if I got 18,000 steps on Saturday. I don't know if that counts towards a cardio. But just getting back on track with my workouts, trying to hit at least 5 workouts this week, because I know usually I'm pretty consistent with 4 to 5 workouts. So getting back on track with my workouts. And then, today is just a big meal prep day for me, since I really wasn't able to do it on the weekend. So I'm going food shopping today. So, prepping for the week again. And honestly, this is the first weekend where I don't want to say I don't have anything going on, because I have my daughter's birthday party, and then I have 2 birthday parties on Sunday, but they're not really social events where I feel like I need to go off track, or where I feel like I'm going to go off track, because I feel like this weekend is really what I'm going to use as a weekend to really implement what we talked about last week, in terms of making sure I'm prepped for this weekend like I am for every day during the week. So this is the weekend where I'm really going to make sure I plan and prep like I do during the week. So
Yes.
yeah. So that's my goal, is to start my success on the weekend this weekend.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
I think you're gonna be super successful, and I think just approaching the weekend like we've talked about, and I think you're gonna be great, and I can't wait to hear about it.
I can't wait to tell you about it.
It is definitely gonna be good.
Yeah.
Yes. Perfect. Well, do you have any other questions for me, or anything else you want to talk about?
No, actually, that was good. Like I said, this was very helpful. Now I understand what a refeed is, and the difference between that and a diet break. No, I think I'm good. I'm good.
Great. Well, I'm glad you were able to join, and yeah, if there's nothing else, I'll let you get back to your Monday, get back to work. But yeah, thank you so much, and I think that's it. And if the other person doesn't have any questions, then we will end this call. So
Awesome. Thanks. See you. Talk to you tomorrow for my check-in. So
sounds good, girls. Have a good day. Let me know if you need anything.
yes, we'll do.
All right,
Thanks again.
bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.